and Bortolami and vice versa. The gap between Cimil coming into this final classic in the World Cup Series, 115 points to Cimil, 151 points then to Bortolami. And the whole combination of sums that have been done as we watch this little group coming up here, splitting on that climb. Good to see Bauer, by the way, second in the slot here for the Motorola team, riding so well. He's had a very spirited back end to the season, and I hope to goodness they keep him in the squad next year. But a lot of men still looking for contracts at the moment, and Bauer looking very, very strong indeed on this climb. Let's go back then to the complications of the finish today. Cimil has to win this race to collect 165 points, and if Bortolami is classed 8th or worse, then he will lose it. But they're back in the main pack, eyeing each other at the moment, and they're quite happy to let all the breakaways go, at least certainly Bortolami is, because the more breakaways that go off the front of this race, then the more chance he has, Bortolami, of keeping that jersey at the finish of the race today. This little breakaway then, 18 men now whittled down to 4. We're looking at the back of the group here at Marco Serpolini. Last but one there for Lamprey, just up in front of him. The Gavispa Land Rider, and at the back here, number 82 is Bruno Cornelet of the Histor Laser team. And it's Bauer second from the front. Flashback then to early action this morning after some 90 odd kilometers had been covered.
In discesa dal Colle Palisio c'è stato un attacco all'inseguimento dell'ex campione del mondo Armstrong, di Chiappucci e del ticinese Gianetti, che al termine della discesa sono transitati a 1,55 dal terzetto, con il gruppo a 2 minuti e 28 e la Kevis Balla attivissima in testa al gruppo. Primo a accedere dei 5 è stato nuovamente Serpellini al chilometro 145. Ricongiungimento e notizia dell'abbandono di Charlie Bontet quando mancava 99 km.
Climb then of the
l'attacco del danese Brian Holm.
Isina Lario ahead of these riders.
Adasso per Holm, media sempre.
Ellie in this little group at the moment. Bauer. And going off the back, the Lamprey rider beginning to struggle at the moment. That's Serpolini. So he's blown a gasket.
Il danese Ries si è portato all'attacco. Su Ries è arrivato in un primo tempo lo svizzero Ries.
And Bauer looking extremely strong indeed. The Motorola rider on the front at the moment. Serpolini now being blasted out the back. Begin to suffer a little bit too. Cornelet just hanging on the back. The Histor rider also rides the Nobel on their jerseys and Laserburst. The last time we're going to see those colours, because at the end of this year they'll be out of sponsorship. Still, Peter Post hasn't said who's going to pick up the team. Well, Cornelet's made a remarkable recovery and come back onto this little group though. Ellie going through after him. And so a good recovery as well as far as Serpolini is concerned. He's managed to get his way back into this little group.
All'inseguimento di Pelliccioli si è portato Casagrande, poi si è formato un gruppo di 25 unità. Pelliccioli, Casagrande, Richard, Cassani, Brughi,
and Jugrimov, who rode so well in the Tour de France this year and also last year in the Tour of Italy when he finished to find second place in that one. So really workmanlike group, and there's none of these riders that are actually on the World Cup challenging for the top honours. Been allowed a certain amount of latitude from the main field. Ellie on the front, riding for GBMG. Pascal Richard in the same team. Richard in fine form at the moment. Coming into this race, probably one of the tips for it, but he's not made it up into this breakaway group at the moment. Just some recent updates on races for you, by the way. The Milan Tour, if you hadn't caught up with them, Casagrande has won that one after his victory in the Tour of Emilie and his second place in the Cup of Placcio. He's back in the main group at the moment. Now back on to the race itself. We look back at some of the action this morning just to put you in the picture of what's been happening on the course. Welcome then to Eurosport's coverage of the final classic of the season, the Tour of Lombardy, the race of the falling leaves. We're looking now at David Cassani. The rest of those early breakaways have been hauled back, and the field now is settling down. You can see them behind. At one time, Bobrick had been in the lead. We're just waiting for time checks to see if he's been caught as well. There's been a lot of action all the way through. We looked at that early breakaway group, 18 men split then on that climb, and in that little group, Cornelet, Serpele, Eli and Bauer Ugramov were finally swept up by the group coming on behind them. And now, as I said earlier, Charlie Motti out the race. Another retirement we've got. Boyer has also stepped off. Pelliccioli's had an escape, but he's been caught back as well. So this race has been full of incidents all the way through, because apart from the World Cup, there is of course that great chance of winning a classic which dates back to 1905 when Gerbi won the first one for Italy. It's a very, very well established race on the calendar, this one, with some classic names in the field. We're looking at the chase. There is Bobrick now, and they're coming up to him. Nice mass of Lampre jersey, number 61 in there. That's the man himself, Maurizio Fondres, Lampre rider who's been in superb form on the back end of the previous victor twice in the World Cup overall. Now beginning to put the pressure on as we get in towards the closing stages of this race. This race has always been full of incidents. I remember one year when we couldn't get the pictures because the weather was so bad, and all we saw was through the murk the victor Rominger coming into sight down the finishing straight. Today conditions not too bad. There on the far side, number 61 is Maurizio Fondres. He's got good support then, because up alongside him is his teammate Farazan. Farazan it is that's putting on the pressure at the front now. And Claudio Chiappucci also made this little selection group. Chiappucci second in 1992 behind Tony Rominger. Sean Kelly it is that is not riding today, has the record, by the way, for this race at 41.208 kilometres per hour. It was in 1985 that the Bowl Sean got that one. Fondres certainly the danger man in this little group at the moment. But David Cassani here looking extremely strong indeed. Well marshalled at the moment and well monitored by Martin Den Bakker, the lad who missed out on the Tour de France this year but came back with a bang after that one. But at the moment, Cassani looking very strong indeed. And the ever-present colours of the Telecom rider up here. Udo Bolts from Telecom has made it this time well. We saw a tremendous sprint last week from his teammate to take the Paris Tour, and right now again they put a man up there in this breakaway group at the front. Just these final conks then coming in towards the finish, the Lisolo, the Costa Lambro, and the run down in towards the finish at Monza, with some 244 kilometres in all to be covered, 152 miles of racing. I marked my card this morning on likely winners of this race, and I certainly put Bjorn Rees down as a likely contender, and he's in this little group as well at the moment. by the Gavis-Belan team, just putting riders up there. They seem to do it so effortlessly. And back in the main pack still then, Bortolami, the Mapei class rider who's leading overall on the World Cup, being closely marked and marking out Lotto rider Chamil to make sure that he can't get away. So we've got to be very happy indeed to let this race evolve in this particular fashion. Of course, the Italians would love to have seen Bortolami win the race today and take the World Cup, but they'll be happy, I think, just to see an Italian win plus Bortolami at the end, because he looks like he's got to keep that World Cup jersey as long as these riders stay away. But you never know in bike racing. There can be many changes, and that the group behind contains some pretty hard riders at the moment. Pascal Richard just down there, number 1. 41, you see, that's Claudio Chiappucci in there at the moment. They've got some really good riders in this little group at the moment. Jen Jascula, 202, has been in all the moves so far. Eric Breukink, number 12, looking good toward the back end. He's in that breakaway in that group as well, chasing after breakaways. And the attacks are coming off the front. Well, that's going to make it difficult for those 4 men, I think, to keep working the way they're jumping around now. So the little group behind may pull them back in. No doubt about the strength of this Gavis-Belan team to put Dauphin away here. We've had them coming left, right and centre. Roche is sitting back in that main pack. He's not bothered at all about going off on the attack. Just waiting and biding his time. They've had Blombrick. Oh, here he is on the front at the moment as well. So Bobrick having a go now. Well, this race full of incidents. And the little group has been shut down to only 3 riders. Kasani's still looking extremely comfortable in this little one, and certainly Reese is not going to do anything to help that one. And Claudio Chiappucci beginning to move up. Fondres is driving hard in the front. Bobrick still in the lead. Bobrick, this man who caused quite a lot of consternation about 3 years ago in the DuPont Tour, when he led right up until I think it was the last day before they finally got him on one of the climbs, and he was still riding as a young amateur. So Bobrick, who's been out there having a go. That gap is coming down now, those 3 men behind. Yes, no one is looking over his shoulders. And Fondres has begun to accelerate off the front. Superb move by this man. This race is completely blowing apart at the seams. Just imagine then this time of the year, on October the 8th then, covering 152 miles. They've been racing right the way through since the early part of the year, starting in January. In fact, Claudio Chiappucci was riding in January, went off to Colombia, and in fact he's going to finish his season in December by riding a cyclocross. You can just imagine that, how many races these riders have to take in during a whole season.
Alle spalle di Bobrick si è formato nuovamente un gruppo piuttosto consistente, una quindicina di corridori si stanno sgranando in continui attacchi.
Off the top of the climb, still Bobrick in the lead. Launching attack from the chasing group, about 8 men has been Fondrest, and as they go down the other side of the hill, we're going to take a short break. Join us later for more action from the Tour of Lombardy. And the riders then coming down off the top of that climb and getting a bit dislodged at the moment is the Telecom rider, who seems to be in all sorts of trouble at the moment. Udo Bolts has been going very strongly. Welcome then to Tour of Lombardy, and my co-commentator here, Stephen Roche. Stephen, it's been a very exciting race so far, and considering how long the season's been going and the kilometres these lads have covered, there's been no doubt about it. They've really let fly. I mean, 18 men went away as soon as the race started, and look at it now.
No, it's an incredible race altogether so far. I've been watching it from a distance, and it's been great to see also Claudio Cappucci in there, because he lives very nearby this the final of the Tour of Lombardy in Como. But he's actually spoke to the other night on the phone. He was telling me, Stephen, this is the first time in a long time that I've got the morale to go on. So far this year I've done 115 races. He's almost covered, but by the end of the season he will have covered 45,000 kilometres. That's an awful lot of kilometres. He still isn't finished. He said he's going on now. He's finishing off Tour of Lombardy and going to Japan to ride in Japan next week. Then he's going to ride some cyclocross, and he's riding a World Cup cyclocross event in Italy towards December. So he says that the fact that he pulled out of the Tour de France because of injury, because of sickness, has given him now a new lease of life now to go on to the end of the season, the same as he has done for the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, we wish him well on his trip to Japan then. Many of these riders, in fact some of them, Henri Redonde, I was having a chat to, I found out that he's going to nip straight off from this race and going to fly out to go down to South Africa, going also with Jan Bruneel, and they're riding in a 6-day tour down in South Africa, and they actually start tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock with a prologue, so wish them good as well. Here in this little group we spotted him earlier on was Eric Breukink, who's made it into that little group. They're reforming again after Bobrick went away on that lone attack, splitting everything up, and now they're reforming.
Konchev's in there as well, I see.
It's a very active group, isn't it?
It's a great group as Cappucci goes away.
Now this race passes not far from his home, doesn't it?
It goes by under his windowsill. You see Fonrias here having to go after him, but the unfortunate thing is this final of the race does not actually suit a one rider break, because it actually goes practically downhill all the way to the finish. So Cappucci may be leaving a little bit early, starting to go away a little bit early maybe, but at the same time, an hour later it'll be practically the same because of the fact that it's practically downhill to the finish.
So Cappucci then, who was second in 1992, trying to get away from this little group of riders at the moment, and he's got some very talented people in there all watching each other right now. I was saying earlier on, Stephen, that your countryman Sean Kelly, who won this race 3 times and had a second place as well, not with us today. He used to absolutely enjoy this back end of the season because it's a hard man's race, isn't it, today?
It is. Tour of Lombardy is the same as like a Liège-Bastogne-Liège. I mean, Liège-Bastogne-Liège comes around April and Lombardy comes in October. So it's very strange to have riders who are going well in January are also going well in October. The old generation, of course, I mean the old generation, I mean the generation of Kelly, myself and Fignon and Mottes and Le Mans, we always went well in the Tour of Lombardy and in Lance and Rim, which was in the early part of the year. But the new generation now are finding it very difficult to maintain a very high level of fitness right through the year.
And unfortunately then, Charlie Motti, if you just joined the programme, Charlie having retired from the race, he started, but that early fast pace seemed to sort him out. So we wish Charlie the best of luck in retirement. I suppose he's going to ride the odd little 6 or make a ceremony appearance there or something. But Charlie now having retired from this race. Boyer's another one's gone. Quite a lot of people have climbed up because they've been going into this very strong headwind towards the finish, and just the strong men are left at the moment. Bobrick there responding to Cassani in this little group right now.
Cassani's having a great ride today, like he's been in most of the breaks, and here he is going again. You see Fonrias going across, but he's in a motorbike. He's actually giving Fonrias to dig out. Not being biased or anything else, but I'm sure if that had been an Irish guy or a French guy, the motorbike wouldn't have been there.
Well, these things happen in bike racing. I remember some years ago there was some statement that they thought that Moser in one particular race had the helicopter just driving on behind him with the blades of the wind.
They didn't just say that, it was happening that way.
You were there.
It was behind Moser and in front of Fignon, so those boys know what they're doing as well.
Well, Lauren Fignon, one of our co-commentators for Eurosport today in this race, talking with Patrick just further down, and here's Steve Roche putting in Miller, yes, he's in fine form at the back end this year. Actually, Robert, he's been waiting. He's had lots of sort of 4th, 5th and 6th at the back end.
He's had a lot of bad luck this year, missing out on the Tour de France, made an awful mess of him. So just got to show you like the class of rider that Robert is, because it's very, you see how often get riders saying, I haven't ridden the Tour de France, so I haven't got form. But here's Bob now riding along at the end of the season. He's no young chicken either, so he's in there having a go in the final of Tour de Lombardy, one of the hardest races after Liège-Bastogne-Liège of the international season.
We ought to get him to commentate with us one day, Steve. We have Englishmen and Irishmen and Scotsmen then, couldn't we?
Robert will do a very good job because he writes very good articles in the cycling comic every week, so he does a great job. So I'm sure as regards commentating he could
we'll try and fix it.
Tell a thing or two, I'm sure.
So perhaps one day an Englishman, an Irishman and a Scotsman, I can just see them all writing off to cycling and saying all sorts of things they can't understand
I want them
me.
I want them to Carrigan Shore, man.
Ah, yes. Well, this is a cracking looking group at the moment, and jumping all over the place, but Viking looking strong. Of course, it's fairly flat, as you say, in towards the finish. And here Konishev as well with the Demon Sprint as well. Some cracking rides in this one.
Konishev, Skibby, Fondriest, they're all very good finishers, and not actually real sprinters as such, but all very good finishers in this group. But unfortunately, it's finding it difficult to get the act together now. But we don't know really from our cameras now. Is Capucci still in the front, or has he been caught up? I think he's still in the front because we haven't seen him in this group. So if Capucci is still in the front, the fact that the boys are jumping around behind him and not getting organised will help his adventure to succeed, maybe.
Well, the Italians look slightly outnumbered at the moment in this race then, that was really dominated by the Italians to begin with. They had 37 victories between 1905 and 1950. They really dominated it, and only had 4 foreigners actually come up and take the title. But it's been changing in recent years. Last year, Pascal Richard, the Swiss rider. The year before that, Rominger from Switzerland. The year before that was Sean Kelly from Ireland. And we've got to look right the way back to Marino Argentin in 1987 for the last Italian victory in a race which one time was an Italian benefit. So, and they're a bit thin on the ground here with this one. So Fondris is probably going to be the best tip, I should think, at the moment. But Cassani can also go rather quickly, and this is yet another of those little testing runs in towards the finish on this course, which has changed, I say, so many times over the years. They've gone from Milan along the Lake Como. They've gone from Como to Milan. We seem to settle now into this Monza, and we're looking back at the Gazella. And this is going to be one of our early look-backs, isn't it? Making life very difficult for us.
It is, because the Italian cameramen are never very gifted for telling us what's going on and which cameraman is in the front or in the rear. So this is here, the margin registrata. It means it's been taped earlier on today.
That's after some 178 kilometres has been covered in this race, and that was Pelliccioli who broke away then, 155 from the Polti team. Pelliccioli who took away up on the Gazzello, and this one of those lone rides which, with that headwind coming up, certainly didn't do him any favours at all. But nevertheless, you see the massive crowd that were gathered there on this far from flat course by any means.
At the same time, it's very strange that the Italians television, the ride going back to look at that when they were actually in the final 20 kilometres of this World Cup event.
And we're back then in the main group at the moment, and Claudio Capucci in the centre of this field here. And there's going to be some jumping around. It looks as if we've got, yes, we have another of those attacks going on.
Konishev.
Yeah. Well,
no, it's Pascal Richard.
And Jaskula as well. No, Jaskula too.
Jaskula and Pascal Richard.
Pascal Richard then, winner of this race last year, wearing number 1 on his shoulders. Got with him then Jaskula, who's got to do something. He's not had a particularly good season so far, Jaskula. They're expecting so much of this rider, but doesn't seem to have had a good season at all. You have these ups and downs in one's career, but Pascal Richard, I said earlier on, is looking very strong at the moment this year, and here he is wearing number 1 as the leader. His teammate Museo has not entered this race. Museo saying that Vittu Hilly for him, as far as he's concerned, that gap between himself and Bortolami in the World Cup, too great really to jump across as far as he's concerned. The rest seem to have let him go at the moment. That's amazing.
Well, I wouldn't say they actually let him go, they got away. But David Castani has had a great ride all day. He's been riding as a teammate today for Pascal Richard, because Pascal Richard has been riding for the last 2 races, saying that, okay, these races interest me, of course, but I'm really preparing for the Tour of Lombardy, and here he is now just showing everybody that he's able to prepare himself for one unique race. So he's come back now and has great form now for the Tour of Lombardy. David Castani has been in the front trying to lead everybody on. Now whenever there's a break going away, Castani was always in it, and now coming to the final, now we have Pascal Richard now in the final break.
And
so maybe not the final break, but one of the final breaks.
Jaskula with him as well, a strong man too, so got 2 very, very strong riders. Of course, about Pascal Richard, amazing cyclocross rider, classics victor and so on, winner of things like the Tour of Switzerland too. He's got a tremendous universal career and doesn't seem to be waning at all, does it?
No, Pascal Richard's the kind of a guy who's got an awful lot of class, but he realises it, but doesn't actually put it to his own advantage, because just seeing a picture of all the bikes here lying in the grass, they have all the cyclists that come up to the top of this final hill, as Eric Brooking is trying to get across to them. Eric is having a great end of season as well. I'm very happy to see that, because Eric is a rider I've put an awful lot of hope in over the last few years, and it's great to see him finishing off this end of season now.
Well, Jaskula, of course, didn't ride the Tour de France this year. His team failed to qualify, so he was a bit miffed about that and been looking for something to round off his season. I think this could be well the sort of event that he's looking for. In that chasing group as well, we just spotted Casagrande, who's in such fine form. I mentioned to you his success this week in that Italian Classic as well, so he's going remarkably well at the moment, Casagrande, and the Italians will begin to tip him as a possible victor of the race.
We just saw Cappucci there trying to get across. He missed the group he missed Pascal Richard and Jaskula going, then he missed Brooking going, and then he's trying to throw up then the group from behind. But unfortunately, Cappucci didn't have the punch to go with Jaskula or Richard, or even the group, or even when Brooking tried to go, he didn't have it with him to go.
So Jaskula on the front in the yellowish colours of the Jolly team. The GBMG rider is Pascal Richard just behind him at the moment.
This is the line we were saying for a while now, the hills of the last hill, but this is really the last hill now. It's the last little rise, a little bit steep at the start, and it goes a little bit flat and gets steeper then towards the end. And this is the steepest, the latter part of the hill now, where it's not as steep, and it starts dropping down and back onto the wide roads, back down to Como.
So that should, in fact, aid that little group behind. Do you think they're just waiting for these two to catch them on the descent?
I think the thing is that Jaskula has not done a thing all year, so even if he finishes second here in this Tour of Lombardy, his season will have been saved. Whereas Pascal Richard, of course, he knows that coming to finish with Jaskula, there's a good chance of him beating him in the sprint. So I think there's a very good chance that the two boys together, they'll ride together, and a slight chance that Brooking might get across. But if Brooking wants to ride to the finish with these guys, he'll have to get on to the back of them now, because as you go over the top of this hill, it goes down, and there's a couple of very sharp bends on it. And we all know that the likes of Jaskula and Richard are very, very good descenders, whereas Brooking is not a very good descender. So if he doesn't get onto this group now before the top, I cannot see him getting on at the end, and he'll probably get swallowed up then by the group of Cappucci.
And it's Jaskula doing all the hard work on the front. This giant of a man who, amazingly, I remember the year before last in the Tour de France, the way he climbed. He's a big fella, but he's certainly got the guts to climb well. And with Pascal Richard as well as a great all-round, they're now over the top of the climb, and this is the eyeballs down. And there we are with Cappucci on the front, Casagrande just in behind him. Casagrande having won the Milan Turin during this last week, coming to this having got a second place in the Coppa Placcia, in the Coppa Sabatini. And now then, are they going to jump across or just try and work together? It's
a shame once again we see Cappucci not having it to be in the front, guys, but he's there and he ends up throwing the other guys behind because nobody wants to ride. So it's unfortunate really for Cappucci, because there's a slight chance that they might get back onto the group in front, but they must all work together.
And on the descent, all spread out, chasing after these two riders. In the lead is Richard, just behind is Jaskula, and the group then behind, no more than about 20 seconds or so separating them. So we're going to take a short break. Please stay with us on Eurosport for more action in the Tour of Lombardy. Back with you in a couple of seconds. This chasing group on the descent, the two riders who went up the climb together, Jaskula and Richard, over the top and down the other side. We've seen some action then. We'll come back to that in just a moment. This group then, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 or so riders, all looking over each other's shoulders, see who's going to do the work. They're not careful. They have difficulty catching up with this then, because Pascal Richard has decided that now is the time to go for the attack. But it's some way from the finish, and one rider on his own. We've had some terrible conditions. The weather, by the way, is less than 10 degrees. It's quite chilly. But I think no worry at all as far as Pascal Richard is concerned, because this Swiss rider here has the cyclocross background, which means he's been used to racing under terrible conditions, and he's made a hell of a difference here to Jaskula. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is, but we see the lights here of the cars behind him, so the gap has not actually opened up. I thought when we saw him attacking Jaskula a few minutes ago on the final hill that he was gone for good, whereas Richard seems to be sitting up now, not waiting for, but maybe he's not too sure to be able to go to the finish alone, so he thinks that maybe with Jaskula it will help him.
Well, we're going to look back then at that attack of Richard and Jaskula. This is where the pressure came from Richard to get away from Jaskula. Look back over his shoulder. Jaskula could not match him at all, and Off he went. Well, that left that chasing group not far behind, and the concern then, could Richard stay out on his own with the rest of the group coming up? He certainly put the hammer down, showing he was a strong man, and over the top of the climb, Jaskula struggling and the big group coming up behind them. But the good news is that, in fact, Jaskula has just caught back up again with Pascal Richard, and this chasing group then have still got 2 men to pull back. That's amazing.
It is, but I think that maybe there's 2 reasons for that. Maybe one, maybe that Richard felt not confident enough to go to the finish on his own, and on the other side, maybe he thought, well, anyway, riding with Jaskula, I'll beat him in a sprint anyway. So, and also Jaskula will ride with a man who will ride to the finish. So, and even as I was saying earlier on, if Jaskula still finishes second place, he'll still be happy. Like so. Maybe Richard calculated a little bit and thought, well, I'm better off having him on board than having himself and other riders then chasing behind me. So we'll see in a few minutes now if he's gambled right or not.
Well, Pascal Richard, winner this year of the Tour of Switzerland, now hammering away into distance with Jaskula for good company, and both of them very, very strong riders indeed, and probably if they work together, you think you're right there, isn't it, Stephen, because it seems sensitive to blow him off his wheel like that when both of them have got so much to gain from staying together.
I don't think he actually tried to blow him off the wheel. I think he kind of rode a little harder and he dropped him, whereas I didn't think he really wanted to drop him at the time, because I feel myself in a normal finish, in normal circumstances, Richard would beat Jaskula anyway, so I wouldn't. He maybe just kind of testing him a little bit to see how he was, but and that's maybe the reason why he eased up down the descent and let Jaskula back on again, because he thought, well, anyway, I've dropped him once and normally I'll beat him in a sprint anyway. So, and also there's still almost 20 kilometres to go, so we'll need him for the run into the finish. So I think it was a kind of a calculation that Richard had to make, and hopefully for himself now he's made the right calculation, because normally he should win the sprint with Jaskula, but we'll know in a couple of kilometres now.
Jaskula on the front at the moment then. 10th in the Tour of Italy last year, 3rd in the Tour de France when he won a stage as well. Everybody looked upon him as a revelation, but he's not had such a good year this year, and now he's trying to prove something in the back end, the last classic of the season, the Tour of Lombardy, which has got some tremendous names looking back in it. In fact, the old Tom Simpson won it in 1965. Sean Kelly winner in 83, 85 and 91. So we had some English-speaking success, but right at the moment, the Italians hoping that one of their men can get across to get this one, because their last victory, as far as the Italians are concerned, was Marino Argentina, who's now retired. That was back in 1987. So how things have changed.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed. You see here in the group now, they're not very far behind Jaskula and Richard, so they're only, I'd say, 20-25 seconds down, so anything can happen. They still could come back. And Richard has gone again, is he? Is this, or is it? Where's Jaskula got there?
He's looking remarkably calm.
He is, yeah.
And here's my usual plug, by the way, because he's riding on that Bianchi bike in that beautiful pale sort of colour that they did, because that was a great bike. And I know you'll get bored with this back at home that, in fact, the great Fausto Coppi used to ride on that Bianchi bike. And, in fact, Fausto Coppi holds the number of victories, 5 victories to his credit. And already Fondres, the Italian, begin to put the pressure on. The other man with victory went 4 to Binda, also from Italy. But what about Fondres, eh?
Fondres having a good go. We see Belli now having a go, getting across there. He's trying to lead out the group, trying to get a group across to Pascal Richard, who has once again dropped Jaskula. So Jaskula seems to have got maybe the hunger knock or the bonk or something, and he's been dropped once again by Richard. So, but it's going to be a very, very long and lonely ride into Como now for Richard. But because at the same time, the group behind seem to be kind of half organised, half-heartedly going after Richard, because they're not. We saw there's 2 or 3 Givis Ballanti team riders in there, but they're not having a go. They're just happy to sit there and let Capucci do most of the riding.
Well, this Jaskula's going to finish better than he did last year when he was 74th, but probably can hang on to this little group at the moment, not die 1,000 deaths. And Breaking looking good at the moment. Seems to be biding his time at the moment. Just goes through, does a bit of work, eases back again. Something I thought with Belli, there doesn't seem to be that sort of any viciousness in this chasing group.
No, there's none at all. That's why, like, it was difficult for me to see Jaskula now here has been dropped by Richard. I wonder did he have some mechanical trouble though, because normally that part of the road it was only a very, very slight rise in the road, so I thought he must be in a bad way to have been dropped by not that kind of a false flat by Richard. But in my one thing that I don't really accept with the modern day racing is the fact that a lot of the riders, they just ride, whereas there's so many riders in that second group and none of them have a person in front. So I don't see why they don't just ride around and just see what happens later on. But instead, they're content to sit there and wait and ride for second, third, and fourth place. So it was something that doesn't really agree with me today. But that's modern cycling, Dave.
Yep, and it's all changing. The whole scene's changing. A lot of riders retiring from the scenes. And I said earlier on, our sympathies go to Charlie Motti, who's not going to actually succeed in finishing this year in this race. Charlie's been up on the podium in the past. He took a third spot way back in 1985 when Sean Kelly won that one and was hoping to go out with, I think, a podium place today. But at the moment, this is the chasing group who have got in front of them, Pascal Richard and Jaskula. The gap's still jumpable by some of these riders here if they get their act together. They don't seem riding, though, in a concerted way, do they?
That's I'm saying that each rider, there's only one team in the front, which is Pascal Richard riding for the MG GP team. Whereas back in the group we have the Once, we have the Lamper, we have Mercatone Uno, we have Jolly, we have two GWS Milan, we have Capucci, we have whatever, and none of them are kind of trying to get across. They're happy to ride for second place.
Well, here comes that pack then. They're going to sweep up Jaskula, which means just one man on his own in the lead, Pascal Richard. There's a couple of Raz and Gavis Balan in that group there. Certainly there's no way that Kassan is going to aid the chase, number 2 here, because he's from GBMG. His teammate out in front, Pascal Richard, so he's just going to sit there near the front and keep an eye on, perhaps be coasting along with them. There's a couple of riders from Lamprey in there, so there should be enough riders with 2 in there to really let their teammate like Belly for Fondres drive hard in the front.
Well, normally what I would have thought would have happened there are 2 Lampreys and there's 2 GWS Balans. Possibly the most... Probably the rider the most potential in the GWS Balan team is surely Bjorn Rees. So I would have thought that Lamper might have had a talk with the GWS Balan team and said, okay, Fondriest and Bjorn Rees are the 2 leaders. So I have one rider, you have one rider, so 2 of them go together. They ride them in the front, ride a tandem in the front, and try and bring down the gap of Pascal Richard, and then just try and win the sprint for either Fondriest or Rees. But unfortunately, they don't do that.
And there, Cassani sitting on the wheel of Capucci as he goes through. We've got Tabelli there in the pink and blue colours of the Lamprey team. They're letting Capucci do a lot of the work now. Well, Capucci must be wondering what he's got to do to win this one, because he's with a lot of classic riders here, and of course some very good sprinters, because I think still in there. We saw Konishev early on. I'm not quite sure that we drift back, but he's still with this little group, because with Jaskula, with Konishev, and Konishev, he's at the back of that one. There is a danger man, isn't there?
Yeah, Casagrande. But the only thing way Capucci might win now is if this group decides to ride and they bring down Richard, and Capucci tries to have a go on his own, because riding in a group with such so many potential fast finishers in it, Capucci could only finish 3rd or 4th, because Casagrande goes reasonably fast, Fondres is fast, Konishev is very fast, Bailey is reasonably fast. So Capucci to win this race today, he'll have to win on his own.
And Pascal Richard must now be wondering what he's got to do. He's lost his companion. The big group are no more than about 300 metres, 400 metres behind him, and they can see him on the long straight stretches at the moment, but that group is under pressure, and really riders are drifting off the back.
Like, it's amazing. Like, it's been a very, very long race, and 240 kilometres is a long way. It's been very, very cold all the way, with the bad weather conditions from the start and the cold weather now, so it plays an awful lot on your muscles. You can see Belly here in the front. He's just going to have a picture here we saw him with his kind of half leg warmers on. That's to keep your thighs warm and to help the blood circulate more. So we see Fondriest here, the same system. Has to try and keep the heat in. But still, it's been a very, very long day for these boys here now, and it's not really surprising to see any of the riders getting dropped here.
And in that group as well, Giannetti has made it. Number 37, quick look at him there, but he's just sitting in, not doing any work. And I don't think he will anyway, because Giannetti rides for the Mapei class team. His team leader, Gianluca Bortolami, the Mapei class team, is the overall leader on the World Cup Series at the moment. And if this group stays away, as it certainly looks like it is, then his team is going to get that accolade with the World Cup victory going to Gianluca Bortolami. So as far as Mauro Giannetti is concerned, he can just sit in this little group and not do any work. His teammate wouldn't expect him to even chase down Richard, I suppose, at the moment. So quite a comfortable ride as far as Giannetti is concerned.
It is, yeah. Giannetti's going to put in a good ride here. Giannetti's a rider also who has been around a long time, and you haven't really heard about him, but he has got an awful lot of potential, but possibly lost potential now, unfortunately for himself. But he's always a good trier and a good rider, a very good team rider. He was also a teammate of Sean Kelly's in the PDM days, and proved himself to be very, very useful. But now he's riding with the Mapei class team, and maybe someday, possibly, Rominger, I'm sure had him along because of his experience in riding with big teams such as PDM and big riders like Sean Kelly.
And so Giannetti then won 50 races as a young rider. He's a fellow in the same coloured Mapei class as the overall leader in the World Cup, and had some 5 victories as a professional, including in '99 to Copperplatcher and Milan Torino, which are 2 of the races in the back end of the year. And there Claudio Chiappucci moving menacingly up the left-hand side of the road, and they're all keeping their eyes out for this fella. And Claudio Chiappucci's going, as he goes, so we see him thunder away yet again.
I was going to say that because the car came along to Chiappucci a minute ago, and I'm sure he was saying to Claudio, there's no point in riding. If you ride at these boys, you're not going to finish second and third anyway. Let the boys ride and attack, try and do something on your own, because lost for lost, just try something on your own. So I'm sure Chiappucci has tried once now, and I'm sure what'll happen now, unfortunately seems to be caught a little bit, but he might get back into the group and maybe just try going for a long one again himself. But Chiappucci riding on his own in the group, dragging him along, he's going to finish 5th or 6th anyway, so nobody will say thank you to him at the end. So unfortunately Gassani was watching him too closely. Should have waited till the car went back a little bit, because everyone knew that the director of sport was coming along to tell him to do something, so everybody's watching him. So Chiappucci himself should have waited for a few minutes and gone to the back and attacked, rather than attacking right from the front, the left hand side of the group.
Well, Giannetti's team car just come up to him as well, I think. I'm looking down, I see a power blue car. I don't think it's the team car for the Givers Ballan team, so a lot of tactics being sorted out at the moment. One man in it, lead, Pascal Richard. The chasing group still out there, some 400 metres behind him. We're going to take a short break. Do come back to see the action towards the end.
Kremliovskaya, vodka made with the finest grains and the purest spring water. It's good character-building stuff.
Eurosport Live.
Pascal Richard still in the lead in this Tour of Lombardy, the final event in the World Cup this year. It opened up with the Milan San Remo in the 19th of March. We went through the Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Amstel Gold, San Sebastian, Leeds International Classic, Championship of Zurich, Paris Tour, and now the Tour of Lombardy to round off the season. The man who's leading the World Cup at the moment, Gianluca Bertolami, is back in the main group. And alongside him is Andre Chamil, who took the lead after that wonderful Paris-Roubaix. And so now really this race is all about who will win this fantastic classic, the 86th version of the Tour of Lombardy, rather than who's going to win the World Cup, because that certainly looks like Gianluca Bertolami, failing him falling off his bike, is going to run home victor in the World Cup. He's going to be very happy with that one. But right now this little group here is still a little bit undecisive about who's going to chase down Pascal Richard, who still has that slender lead as we go some delightful countryside.
We see somebody else attacking there behind these beautiful trees. As the helicopter here gives us a good shot of would say somebody's garden. It's some very, very important garden, I'm sure, but if you can see it's actually Belli and Castani is straight onto his wheel, if you can see down here. Castani is having incredible work here for Pascal Richard, remembering that Castani is the teammate of Pascal Richard. Every move that's gone to try and counteract and try and bring down the time which Pascal Richard has in the front, every group that's gone and tried to go away, Castani is onto it straight away.
And Pascal Richard doesn't look the least bit, ruffled at all. Every time the camera goes on, it looks so smooth.
He does, but I'm sure inside it's hurting, But also you must remember that he's done so many miles this year and so many races that he is very, very well prepared and very much on form for this day. So it's quite normal. I wouldn't say he shouldn't be looking like he's swinging on the bars or anything else, but at the same time he's in very, very good condition. But you can see, I see him now like he's on a big gear, where I think that normally when Pascal Richard is going very well and feels very well, he'd be heading a little bit more maybe, but he is actually feeling the punch now, the pinch now. He's after been out there for a long time on his own. He's had a very, very long day. It's been very cold, and it's not very often Pascal Richard he prefers the warm weather than the cold weather. He goes well in the cold weather as well, but he prefers the warm weather. So he is having a great ride today, but he's probably asking himself, I hope I haven't gone too far out.
Pascal Richard then, who won his second Tour of Lombardy this year. He's looking for his second victory in this, the Tour of Lombardy. The rider who also took the Tour of Switzerland, so when it comes to tours, he's best known for those, but a very good single-day classic rider as well with last year's Tour of Lombardy. This man, though, Casagrande, is the man to watch. He's looking extremely powerful, and he's moving away.
Capucci's gone again.
And, yep, there's a man down there. They're jumping all over the place, aren't they?
Capucci, there's two actually in front there. But we see Jersey of Capucci, I think, in there, so it'd be great for Capucci if he could get across with somebody.
That's Capucci.
Capucci, actually, Giannetti.
And there is Giannetti just up in front. It's a Capucci. Giannetti just up in front. I think it might be Belli in front.
Yeah, that's why Fondrias has stayed put behind, because if it wasn't one of his teammates, Fondrias would have had a go as well. So it is actually Belli.
Belli then.
Fondrias. It's Fondrias.
Yep, they changed.
Yeah, Fondrias taken off his overshoes, yeah. It's Fondrias, Giannetti, Capucci, so there's a great chance now these riders ride together. They can bring back Pascal Richard. This is an incredible race. Right from the start, it's gone like terribly fast. Even though the weather conditions have been very cold and damp, and now we're coming now after 220 kilometres, they're still having a go.
Stephen, when Greg LeMond really started to get the riders' wages up for their contract money, and I think we all respected that, you can see now how these chaps earn this money. It's a hard way. You see other sports, half a season or something, but I mean, this is a very tough way of earning a living, isn't it? I mean, you know, ex-world champion, winner of the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France. I mean, it's a harder way to earn your money, but at this day and age, you've really got to keep going all the way through the season, haven't you?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if I hadn't been good at golf, I'd have played golf. If I'd been good at football, I'd have played football, but I wasn't. So the fact that I was riding there, I was good at the bike, was wasn't just pot luck. I did cycling because I was good at it, and I earned money from it. And the same as the likes of the footballers will do football because they're good at football, but not golf. So everyone does their own thing. I think you have to be happy with the money you earn in each sport. So, but fortunately, for the riders, the salaries have gone up in the last 4 or 5 years. There's still nothing like football or boxing or tennis or anything else. But there's maybe one rider like Indurain is maybe making great money. But then there's a big gap then to the second place rider, and then an even bigger gap then to the third and fourth place rider. And there are still riders, for example, riding on teams earning only about 70 and 18,000 pounds a year, and they're still doing 40,000 kilometres a year, and still riding Tour de France and all kinds of weather, and they're still here in the Tour of Lombardy in the cold weather. So there's sometimes this proportion between different sports, and sometimes between the top riders and the lesser riders also, but that's the way sport is.
And with the chasing group still coming after Pascal Richard on the front. There is the man in the lead, Pascal Richard. You can see back down here there's no more than about 300 yards between Richard and the group chasing after him. Let's look then at the World Cup current standings here on your screen. Bortolami 151 points. Mazzeo not riding today, 125. Arnaud Chamil back in that main pack with Bortolami 115. So this gives you some idea of the rundown towards the end of the race. And really without Bortolami and Chamil in this breakaway group, what we're looking at really is who's going to win this race, and at his name the list of victors in the event, which dates back to 1905. And Pascal Richard now well inside this group, can see him down the road, and therefore it could well still be one of the sprinters that triumphs.
We see Bailey now having a go. He's having a 1-2 with Fondrias, but unfortunately David Castani, you see the remarkable work that he's doing is every group that's going away. But for anybody that doesn't understand what I mean by Castani actually working for his teammate who is in the front, I will see Giannetti having a go now on the right hand side of a screen. But Castani, he must if one of these riders gets away or two riders gets away, to get organised, and they can bring back the group, the leader of Pascal Richard. And if somebody gets across to Pascal Richard, it means the chances of Pascal Richard winning are less. So it's in the interest of the team that obviously Fondrias having a very good make a very good movement here getting across. But Castani must defend and must keep down the gap, keep the gap open as much as he can for as long as he can, so that Richard has a 100% chance of winning. But Fondrias, see him here doing a very good job again in the front here. Capucci's once again there, but the group behind comes across, and there's no real organisation between them. The lads they try to get away, to get one or two riders away, And all of a sudden everyone rides after them, they catch them, and then they set up. So it's as we come to the 6 kilometre to go mark, but nobody's really getting organised behind Pascal Richard. So Pascal Richard could actually be caught before the finish.
This, again, we use the term cliffhanger, but this is going to be one of the great cliffhangers. And look at this lot. Still, as Konishev goes through, Kierpucci pulls over. Kasani doing a watching job in second spot. Belly moves through, taking Breukink with him. And they're looking round to see who's going to make the next move. And down that long straight, heading in towards Monza, where they started at the crack of dawn this morning. So like 9:30, they started out this morning on this 244-kilometre race. That's 152 miles of racing. And it looks like Breukink is rolling away off the front, looking back over his shoulder. He's not got anybody with him. Has he got the speed in his legs to get up there? Breukink then on his own.
Not for long. You see, that's the amazing thing. You see, they come across to him and then everybody just sits up. So it's a very frustrating moment for the likes of Rominger and the likes of von der Riest and Kierpucci, because they're used to just riding as the old generation, whereas the new generation, they just don't like riding together.
Bobrick on his way through now. The man who had an early lead and was finally pulled back on the last but one climb, and then Kierpucci goes for him as well, and the crowd are going mad here because Rominger from Switzerland's leading. Then Bobrick, the Russian rider. Then Kierpucci's in third spot.
Rominger, Richard.
Sorry, Richard.
Very confusing.
Get these Swiss riders mixed up, aren't I?
You're right in nationality, Dave.
Well, Rominger won the year before last.
Yeah.
Richard won last year, so the Swiss have got a bit of a benefit going at the moment. Can they make it a hat-trick, I ask myself?
But Betsy Kierpucci getting across now, because Kierpucci should actually ride with Bobrick and Bobrick should ride with Kierpucci, but it's an all puncture. You can see them here riding in the gutter. But see, Bobrick now is ridden. He's pulling across now, and hopefully the two of them will have the intelligence to ride together and try and bring down the gap to Pascal Richard. But as you see, somebody else trying to jump away from the chasing group.
Right against the left-hand gutter. Because the crosswind coming over here means they don't want to echelon anybody else, and now it's Kierpucci on the front, Bobrick behind him. Bobrick must be tired from that long attempt he made to stay away from the field, and surely Richards must be beginning to struggle out in front as well. And yet again then
Von der Riest having trying to go with Giannetti and Bolts, but they seem maybe this might be a good move now, because Kierpucci is in the front. He will ride with Bobrick, and the group there behind are starting to stall. Giannetti has a go now from the chasing group.
Lovely that helicopter shot, isn't it? You've got to see all the moves, because people don't understand cycle race. You can see how people are trying to jump across, get people out of their slipstream, and just that one rider who's got nothing else to do but concentrate on the job in hand. That's staying away from this little group behind. Look at them all over the place. 5
kilometres to go now. Kierpucci and Bobrick are only something like about 200 metres, 300 metres behind, which is only about 15-20 seconds down on Pascal Richard. So we were saying earlier on, the only way Kierpucci can win this race is if he can win on his own. But if he arrives in the finish today with Bobrick, will he have the strength to be able to beat Bobrick in the sprint? And a third, Pascal Richard.
Claudio Kierpucci in second in 1992 behind Tony Rominger here, hammering after Pascal Richard, who won last year, ahead of Furlong in second spot, to Chandri back in third. David Cassani was third the year before last, so there's certainly a lot of talent in this race who knows what's going on. Pascal Richard not only won last year, but he finished in second spot in 1990 behind Gilles de Lyon of France. And the Italians then still searching for that victory, which they haven't had since Marino Argentin won in 1987. Can Kierpucci get up there and shake off Bobrick and shake off Pascal Richard? But still the gap then with something like about 4 kilometres to go. Richard hanging on, they just can't see him down the road. They can see the vehicles in front and the odd motorcycles, and that's the man they're chasing after, and still they've got the vehicles in there. The gap then round about still some 20 to 30 seconds.
It is, but Richard now has started to die, but it's 4 kilometres still to go. Kierpucci and Bobrick, they'll be riding very, very hard behind, but the gap seems to be very, very big. You must remember Kierpucci and Bobrick have also ridden the same distance as Richard. They will also be very tired, and to catch Richard, he must ride faster than him. So Richard's been out there now for a while on his own, so his legs are going to be very, very tired. But still, Kierpucci and Bobrick must ride very hard to catch him.
That's Pascal Richard in the lead at the moment. Then victor from last year, winner this year of the Tour of Switzerland, winner of the Tour of Lombardy this year. Tremendous, talented rider, Pascal Richard at the moment. He won some 11 events last year, including the Swiss Championship as well.
The rider has come very strong over the last few years. So he seems to be able to prepare himself now for special events, and does only that. So he's prepared himself especially for the Tour of Lombardy. So if he wins today, it'll be a great credit to his own personal preparation.
Well, the gap then is now down about 20 seconds, and still they're keeping the following cars in, and normally pull them out with 30 seconds, but at the moment the GBMG team still in there. Combination GBMG, GB the Belgian supermarket chain, MG is the clothing chain from Italy, so they're probably very happy with this one, and Technogym also the co-sponsor. The team cars come up to try and encourage them to go that little bit quicker, because if this gap comes down below those 30 seconds, it must be now near to 20, they'll have to move that car out and give these two riders a chance to see. Let the hares see the rabbit up in front. Pascal Richard still driving on in, trying to get his second successive victory in this race. We've got to look back all the way through to Eddie Merckx, way back in 1971-72, when Merckx won it twice on the trot. That's the last double-header. Can this man here, Richard, pull it off?
Cappucci and Bobbrick getting very, very close now. The speed just keeps going up now with Bobbrick and Cappucci as he's won with a 3 kilometers to go sign. The bunch now of Fondriest and the other guys seem to have resigned now to the fact of chasing down Cappucci, as our cameras now don't pick up the group anymore. But Cappucci and Bobbrick are getting very close, and I fear now for his chance of Pascal Richard holding on now to the finish.
Cappucci second then in 1992. Is he going to be second today? He'd certainly like to mount the rostrum in first spot. Still Richard hanging on the front here, 2 hours on the trot here. Looking down at my list, I keep being confused in 1992 when Rominger won this one. The Swiss then could have a triple, Richard could have a double. I said Eddie Merckx 71-72, Théo Deroux, also Deroux back in 62-63, and still they're moving the car out now, so the gap has certainly come down.
Yeah, it's come down.
It's right down. About 150 metres, that's all. And the commissaire has pushed the team car out of the way, and now we can see what Bobbrick and Cappucci can see. That is the figure of Pascal Richard down the road, and there the team car's been pulled over, so they know now they've only got about some 15 seconds, and certainly looks to me that Pascal Richard is beginning to die.
Wouldn't it be great now if Cappucci comes along now and wins this Tour of Lombardy in his own hometown, the last major classic of the season, the classic which has been placed in a couple of times so far. But I'm afraid also that Bobbrick is a very, very good sprinter, so it'll be the question of who's the fittest, who's the freshest now at the moment coming to the finish here in Monza.
The gap is 6.57 seconds right now. Pascal Richard looking over his shoulder, worried to know that right down there is a finish, and they're closing up on him. Less than 7 seconds separating those two chasers from Pascal Richard. No more than about a couple of minutes from the line. And here Pascal Richard has got problems, and
Bobbrick is not coming off.
Yes, he's easy
Bobbrick is not going to come off Cappucci's wheel, because he knows that Cappucci is also a reasonably good sprinter. Well, isn't this incredible? Like, Cappucci now is coming in to catch Pascal Richard, and Bobbrick now won't work with him, so I just hope that Cappucci is stronger than Bobbrick today.
Our telephoto lens then shortening down the gap that exists between Pascal Richard on the front for GBMG. The career rider Claudio Cappucci desperately then trying to win his classic here, because he had a disastrous season when he was sick in the Tour de France and did not do what he expected there. He's now clawing his way up to Pascal Richard, and looks over his shoulder. Bobbrick is getting in the third spot and could launch off Cappucci's wheel and attack, and he's done just that now and gone past them. Bobbrick is going away. Cappucci's got nothing left in his leg. Bobbrick for Gabrisbelan, this Russian rider is going to be the first Russian to win the Tour of Lombardy. He takes it from Cappucci, second yet again, and in third spot Pascal Richard, last year's victor, and they're coming up there for fourth spot with Cassani on the front. Then behind him is, in the yellow colours, Konichév, and Fondriest just on the wheel of Konichév. Konichév heading in towards the fourth spot, looks back to see where Fondriest is. Fondriest sits up, so Konichév takes fourth, fifth then to Fondriest, sixth to Cassani. Into seventh spot goes Rees, bolts into eighth, then Giannetti into ninth, and Skivvy comes in.
Some exciting final.
What a race, Stephen.
It was, yeah. Very, very sorry for Cappucci. As you see, Casagran coming in there for 10th place. Then Eric broke in then for 11th, and 12th then would be Belly. Some incredible finish there, but once again Capucci, we would say once again the best man. I wouldn't say has won really, because Capucci really deserved to win this major classic coming to the end of another incredible season of Capucci. You see here he leads out Belly for the final, but Belly couldn't come up his wheel, so if Capucci had waited for Belly to ride, then maybe Richard would have won. So only 200 kilometres, Budrick, if only 200 metres to go, Capucci had to move.
And Bobrick then thundering in this new first-year pro who had a stage victory in the Tour of Aragon. Finished 10th in the Tour of the Basque Country, 7th in the Tour of Apennines, 5th in the Russian Championship. The man who in the Dupont Classic about 3 years ago surprised everybody by taking the lead as a young amateur when he was riding in that big American race, has now won his first big classic victory. So Gavis-Ballin then, they started the year with Furlan winning the Milan-San Remo. It's been one of the most successful teams that we've had, and this man is absolutely elated. Gavis-Ballin, we think what we've seen this year, Stephen, from this team, how they dominate things like the 8 they finished the season up as they did when Furlan won the first one, and now they won the back end one as well.
No, it's an incredible team, but they put an awful lot into it. They mixed very well the team this year. They brought on some new riders like Sir Broderick, and also they kept Guido Bontempi and Marino Argentine in the team to help the young riders move along. So it was a great choice and a great way to build a team, mixing the new with the guys going out of career, and also the riders like Argentine and Bontempi are by no means the weakest of riders. They had a very, very good season this year. Argentine retiring, of course, this year, but a great head on his shoulders and a great teacher to any young rider.
And of course, drafting in people like Bjorn Ries into the team this year, and that great ride, of course, that we had, those 2 successive stage victories in the Tour de France from Ugrumov, also for Gavis-Ballin. So I suppose when we actually look at the running order of the teams at the end of the year, Gavis-Ballin are going to run out absolute top. I'm just going to try and check through my note which is sent to me by the UCI. I think they're actually leading on the classifications of teams at the moment, but we'll try and just through that one to you in just a moment. But no doubt about it, the man who's won the overall World Cup this year, the Mapei class rider Gianluca Bortolami, will be crowned on the finishing rostrum, and looking again at some beautiful architecture in this part of Italy. I'm glad they settled this race down onto this Monza circuit, Steve, because over the years it's been changing so many times, hasn't it?
It is. It's changed. I remember a few years ago it was great. It was going to finish in Como. Now it's finishing in Monza. It's completely different, but it's like an out-and-home circuit now. So one way it's good for the public, but unfortunately we haven't got the same final as we had in Como. But at the same time, we see today once again a great race.
And we had a great race today with Bobrick thundering over the line to win the Tour of Lombardy, the race of the Forlanese, the last race in the season, the classic race to Bobrick. Vasilij Bobrick getting ready for the presentation on the rostrum, having scored his first major classic victory. This new first-year professional will receive the plaudits of the crowd. They were looking for an Italian victory, but it's the first time we've had a Russian up there on the rostrum. We look back in the last year, Pascal Richard from Switzerland last year, the victor, finished in 3rd spot this year. Tony Rominger, the year before from Switzerland. Sean Kelly from Ireland, the year before that, Dion from France. Rominger from Switzerland in 89, Motte from France in 88, and the latest Italian victory in 87 was Argentina. We're looking here at how Bobrick launched himself off Claudio Chiappucci's wheel. Claudio Chiappucci, as ever, he rides himself into the ground. He's done so much work to catch up with the lone breakaway rider who had been away for so long on his own, Pascal Richard. He got up to him, but he couldn't go past him, and he couldn't either contain Bobrick. So surely a very, very disappointed Claudio Chiappucci, Stephen.
I'm sure Chiappucci must be very disappointed, because he's ridden his eyeballs out today now for this win. When the team car came along to him earlier on the race, said Claudio must go to the front. He attacked straight away. He re-attacked again. He attacked automatically every time he got a chance. He went until he finally got away with Bobrick. So unfortunately for Chiappucci, Bobrick was a better sprinter than him. Not a better sprinter than him, but a better finisher than him today, and coming off his wheel made it a lot easier.
Well, we see history being made then with the first Russian victor in the Tour of Lombardy. History being made too today in Great Britain, where the indoor track is officially opened in Manchester, and Jennifer Harris has unveiled the marble statue to her late husband Reg Harris in the track this afternoon. We had been hoping to get our telephone the information of that revenge meeting between Morrow and Boardman, but unfortunately we should have gizmos in the telephone system, and we've been able to get through. So if you're in the UK listening to it now, sorry about that, we're trying to get it for you, but nevertheless we hope they've had a great day in Manchester. Last thing I heard, they were actually sold out. They'd sold like 2,500 seats, or more than that, towards the full house, and only about 700 left. That was that yesterday, so no doubt they've had a cracking day's racing up there in Manchester. We've seen a cracking day's racing as well in the Tour of Lombardy, with Pascal Richard trying to get the double, failing just in the finishing straight in sight of the banner. It was Bobrik who launched himself off the wheel of Claudio Chiappucci to come down the line and steal victory. But for Gvis Balan then, a top and tail. They took the first one in Milan-San Remo with Furlan. They take the final one with Bobrik, who loses his hat in the process, but I don't think he's going to be the least bit bothered about that.
No, I think when you win a Tour of Lombardy, you can forget about a lot of things, I think. I'm sure you can go out and want to have a new hat now, I'm sure.
Well, he's going to buy as many hats as he wants, I suppose. But I'm very pleased to see that too. I think it also, Stephen, we're talking about the fact many people have retired, like you retired this year. We've got Pino also working with Eurosport, who's added a new dimension to our commentaries in all the classics and the Tour de France as well. But seeing these young riders coming through, particularly from behind what used to be the Iron Curtain, people like Bob Briggs and the Ugam of this world, it is making so much difference to the whole of the racing scene, isn't it?
It is. Like at one stage when everyone expected the Russians to dominate, everything didn't dominate, and now all of a sudden people have forgotten the Russians, and here they are coming through. We have Ugramov, Chiappucci doesn't seem very happy. You see
it's sad, isn't it?
It's sad, yeah, but it's quite normal. You see the peloton coming in now for the sprint for the 13th and 14th place.
And we're good looking there for the white jersey with the stripes on of the World Cup leader Gianluca Bortolami. So whilst Claudio Chiappucci looks rather upset right home, on the left-hand side, Zabelli's coming through up to the centre here. I'm looking in there for the white jersey with the stripes. There he is. The arms are going up right in the middle of the pack. Then we might see his arm goes up further back. Now there we are. There, one arm goes up. That is Bortolami, who's gone across the line. Then he is the World Cup victor of 1994. So even though they'll be disappointed with the second place of Claudio Chiappucci, it certainly showed on his face. The Italians in Argentina, the guests.
It's the Argentine in our picture here at the moment. He's actually working for the Gvis Balan team as doing public relations. So he's retired this year after the Tour of Italy after helping. The Russian rider there.
Bobrik.
No, the Tour of Italy winner. Help me, Dave. Tour of Italy winner was. Berzin, sorry. All these Bobriks and Brevis and Bellies and everything else get mixed up, but after helping Berzin to win his first Tour of Italy in the second year as a professional, Argentina had a great partner, and he's now working as public relations for the team.
So there we have then in the centre, just chatting to the microphone, the man then who was the last Italian to win this race in 1987, Marino Argentin himself, and as Stephen was saying, helping here this man Bobrik then coaching him and getting him up into victory in this year Lombardy, and of course young Berzin winning the Tour of Italy this year as well. But cracking year for the Gvis Balan team. They certainly are going to go out with their tails up, but I certainly could feel the disappointment, couldn't you, about Claudio Chiappucci there?
You could see it in his face. Like, I'm disappointed for him myself, but it's kind of second nature to Chiappucci now. He rides so hard in races and is often beaten in the finish. He's a rider has given and contributed so much into every race that he's ridden. If he could only write down the number of races that he should have won or he could have won, he'd have a hell of a list of wins, but unfortunately he hasn't got it so far.
Well, that's it then. We're looking back at the action replay of that finish. Stephen, we're closing out on the classic season. Can I say on behalf of Eurosport how much we enjoyed having you here in the commentary point, and your enthusiasm is still there, young man, and thanks for all the advice and all the help and all the knowledge you've been imparting to us.
It's nice to be here, Dave. I hope Eurosport continues on doing as much as it can for cycling, because it's a great sport.
Well, we're looking forward to next year. We've got some track racing coming up from Bercy in a couple of weeks' time. For myself, David Duffield, with my co-commentator Stephen Roche, it's bye-bye from the Giro de Lombardy.